Welcome back, Python noobs, to episode 2 of the Python learning playlist. So today we'll be covering PEP8 guidelines, which we introduced in the last episode, and then we're covering chapter 2, which involves variables and operators. So the PEP8 guidelines, I created a video separate. I recorded that yesterday. That'll be popping up right now. Alright, so here we are. We're about to read through this PEP8 style guide for Python code real quick. And it's decently long, so we'll skim through it. So this was created on July 5th, 2001 by Guido van Rossum, who is one of the creators of Python. So let's scroll down. Code layout, indentation. Use 4 spaces per indentation level. It shows you, the correct way to do it and then the incorrect way to do it. So when you're doing your indentations, these want to be, pretty level. Whereas you can see it's wrong here. You're aligned with an opening delimiter. You add 4 spaces, an extra level of indentation to distinguish arguments from the rest. Tabs or spaces. Spaces are the preferred indentation method, so the tab typically you won't use. Tabs should be used solely to remain consistent with code that is already indented with tabs. Maximum line length. Limit all the lines to a maximum of 79 characters. Should a line break before or after a binary operator? For decades, the recommended style was to break after binary operators, but this can hurt readability in 2 ways. The operators tend to get scattered across different columns on the screen, and each operator is moved away from its operand and onto the previous line. Here the I has to do extra work to tell which items are added and which are subtracted. Oh, okay. I see what they did. You see how this is wrong. You have the operator on this line when it should be in front of this, what is it called? Variable. In front of this variable right here. So that's basically what they did, what they're talking about. Okay. Blank lines. Surround top-level function and class definitions with 2 blank lines. Method definitions inside a class are surrounded by a single blank line. Extra blank lines may be used sparingly to separate groups of related functions. They may be omitted between a bunch of related one-liners. So white space and expressions in statement. So basically remove the spaces. Keep it pretty condensed. Having these spaces can be a pet peeve. Between a trailing comma, okay, yeah, don't have that space there, basically. Before a comma, semicolon, or colon, don't have those extra spaces, okay. That's pretty simple to understand. Other recommendations: avoid trailing white space anywhere because it's usually invisible. It can be confusing. A backslash followed by a space and a new line does not count as a line continuation marker. Some editors don't preserve it, and many projects like CPython have pre-commit hooks that reject it, okay? Always surround these binary operators with a single space. The assignment operator, augmented assignment, comparisons, booleans. Some of these we have not gone over yet, or will not go over, at least in this episode. If operators with different priorities are used, consider adding white space around the operators with the lowest priority. Comments that contradict the code are worse than no comments. We talked about in episode 1 how it's a good idea to use comments to explain the code that you're using, so if you come back years later and look at it, you understand what's going on. Always make a priority of keeping the comments up to date when the code changes. Okay, they should be complete sentences. First word should be capitalized unless it is an identifier that begins with a lowercase, okay? Code should be written in a way that does not disadvantage other implementations of Python, okay? For example, do not rely on CPython's efficient implementation of an in-place string concatenation, never seen that word before in my life, for statements in the form A plus or equal, which we'll actually cover in this episode, B. This optimization is fragile even in CPython. Interesting. Okay, so variables, they are an item that contains a representation of another item. So x equals 30 like in algebra. However, it is a representation of data stored in a form that is easy to access and manipulate. You can also store other types of data like text. An example would be weather equals cloudy. We are asserting that the weather variable, has word cloudy stored in it. When we use the equal sign, that's the assignment operator, we aren't saying that two values are equal, rather that we are assigning or storing a value in that variable. A variable can be called anything if the name adheres to a couple rules. It has to contain only letters, numbers, and underscores. So an example, I am awesome 2_4. First character is not a number. So example, 1 photo. The variable name is not one of the reserved keywords, which would be input, print, or while. These are reserved for specific commands. And then I've had this table on the last 3 slides. We aren't getting into these two necessarily today. We are getting into this, x equals 45. Okay, so variable names are case sensitive, so car shame with the S capitalized is different than car shame, all under Ks. Variables can be named anything, but you'll want to follow some guidelines. The camel case is the practice of joining together compound words with uppercase letters, so big igneous with the B and the I capitalized. Snake case, which is the preferred notation, is adding underscores between compound variable names, so big underscore igneous. And try to name variables things that make sense. So a mineral equals a rock doesn't make sense as a geologist. Okay. Use instead schist equals rock. So operators, and these on this table on the left from DataFlare, these are operators. So they're symbols that perform functions and are used to manipulate data in different ways. One operator is the assignment operator, the equal sign. You assign value, the value sign on the right side of the operator to variable on the left right. That's a typo. On the left side of the operator. So you set, and when I type this into the PyCharm, you actually want a space between R, the operator, and 12 and the operator. So these need to be spaced out. And you'll see that when I'm playing the video. But R equals 12, S equals 9, T equals S. And then let's print these values of these variables. So print R, print S, print T. And then you'll see that the output of the program is 12, 9, and 9. And this is because we assign 12 to R, 9 to S, and then S equals T. So T will also equal 9. This means T will contain some value as S. It should say same, not some. But anyways, so we're running through all the other operators. So obviously you have the addition operator, which is plus. You add two values together. So if R equals 2, S equals 3, R plus S is 5. Subtraction, you subtract the two values. So R equals 3, S equals 2, R minus S is 1. Multiplier, or the multiplication operator, the star, asterisk, I should say, multiplies two values. So R equals 3, S equals 2, that's going to equal 6. Divided, or division, divided from one value from the other. R equals 9, S equals 3, R divided by S is 3. Floor division. Floor division operator divides, then rounds down to the nearest whole number. So if you divide 7 by 2 with the floor operator, that'll equal to 3. You get 3.5. Obviously, you round down. Modulus operator is a percentage sign, and it produces a remainder of a division operation. So when you divide 2 into 7, you get 3, right? And you have 1 in the as a remainder, and that's what it will give you. The modulus will give you. And then you have the exponent operator, double star. Exponent raises the first value to power of second value. So if R equals 9, S equals 2, then you have basically that you can just think of this as an arrow. So it'll be 9 to the 2 power, which will equal 81. The assignment operation can be combined with other operations like addition, subtraction, multiplier operators, making it easier to carry out operators in one step. So this part I don't really understand, but it's basically a simplification. I need to play with this a little bit more. But instead of having to write r equals r asterisk 2, r times 2, we can write r times equals 2. And try experimenting with other combined operators to see how easy they make updating values. And here's a table showing some examples of combining operators. Thank you for watching. Next episode we'll be covering data types.